Hi, I'm Andrew Dory. Out of the sports of 1920. In 1920, sports became a big deal. Many people became big after the war because they moved right into sports. For example, there was baseball, football, tennis, boxing, golf, and a lot more. Tennis, well yeah, that was a big one, but boxing got more people into it. Baseball was a big drawer, and many people went to the games to go see Babe Ruth. There was the Yankees who won 5 consecutive ones in a row. 1920s, baseball was a big thing. People would come all around just to watch it, such as Yankees. Yankees were the prime of their time. They won 5 World Series back to back. Babe Ruth was the star of the Yankees. He had the leading in home runs, hits, and a lot of other things. Lou Gehrig was also another big name player. He was an all-around great fielder, hitter. He was just one of the best. Also, for pitching, Cy Young, he was the best pitcher. He had the most wins than any other pitcher. Golf. It's been around for years and years. The first PGA Tour was in 1920. People went around just to watch it. They wanted to see what golf was. So they'd come watch, and it became very interesting. Fun fact, Walter Hagen was the first Native American to win a championship in golf. People are like, oh, who's Walter Hagen? But he was actually the first one, or the first Native American to complete it. For women's golf, Joyce Weathered. People are like, oh, who is she? But she's actually a very well-known person in golf. She won 5 consecutive tours in golf, which is actually a really big deal. Next time you think about golf, think about the 1920s. Boxing in the 1920s was a big deal because many people would go to watch the fights and make bets. Some of the big name people were Dave Montrose and Jack Dempsey. Jack Dempsey was one of the best fighters. It was said that he has the best left hook there ever was. He fought a match with Jess Willard. It was said to be the worst beating in boxing history. It went 3 rounds, and it was just a beating. Jess Willard was just falling down, getting knocked down, and Jack, he was just doing his thing with his left hooks, and it was just nasty. It was just a beating. Dave Montrose and Connie Curry fight. They fought 4 times, but it was undecided. The 5th match, those two fought a valiant battle. And finally, Dave Montrose won. Connie Curry was trained by Jack Dempsey, and Jack was upset that he lost. Football. At the time, it wasn't as big as it is now, with like the Seahawks, the Raiders, the Niners. But back then, there was a guy named Jim Thorpe, and he was the player of the time. Like, he was just all out the great. He was just crazy good. And eventually, over time, he became president for the league. And they had teams, multiple teams, but not as many as we do now. The teams had to pay $100 to enter, but at the time, no one actually paid. So they just went out there and started playing. At the time, there was 4 major teams. There was the Akron Crows, the Bulldogs, the Triangles, and the Indians. And it was confusing times because there's people in college who's playing and they were still taking classes. And then there's also salary because money was like rising at the time. Then finally, people were just switching teams as they wanted. Like there's no leases. Like there's no contracts to what they could do. They just went and switched teams when they wanted. So it's very confusing about who was on whose team. 1920s was a very interesting time for sports. It gave people things to do, wanted to spend money. It gave flappers a place to flap. And it was just a great way to like go out with the family, make bets, have a good time in sports. I'm Andrew Dory, and this is 1920 Sports.